Hello, and welcome back to the Triangle Business Podcast. I am one of your co-stars, Joey Nattel.
And I'm
And
Scott Moore.
yes, welcome back to another episode. Today, it is kind of the holiday season of we are close to Halloween for those who celebrate, and we wanted to promote Scott's actually just back from one of his favorite adventures and things he does yearly called Otherworld. And we plugged them because we love them so much. Scott, if you want to briefly mention them real quick.
Yeah, I if you've spent any amount of time with me, you've probably heard about Otherworld. It's funny that you say we do it yearly. I'd say we have the event once a year and we work on it all year long in various ways. But we're just fresh off of it. If briefly, because we're not going to spend the whole time talking about this, but Otherworld is just an adventure experience for 11 teams of six participants each, who get to go through an adventure that the staff, create for them. The staff is about 115 people, and if you do the math, you know instantly that there's more staff than there are participants. That's because it's a ton of fun to staff, and it's also a huge amount of work, so we need a lot of people to do it. But yeah, we're there to give you the adventure of a lifetime and hopefully let you see something about yourself that is not always easy for you to see about how heroic you are. And we have a blast doing it. So yeah, I'm uh, fresh back from that. And I actually spend a lot of my year on purpose going to hang out with other people I know, participants or staff from Otherworld. They're a huge chunk of my friend group. And yeah, so otherworld.org, we can put a link
Yeah.
in the podcast so that you can go there if you'd like to sign up. We don't go sign up to be a participant if it sounds cool to you. We don't spam you. We send you like one email a year that says this is when signups are. And I think we have the dates for next year is October 2nd through the 4th, but don't quote me on that. I think that's
It's at
right
a
though.
beautiful campsite there. It's a
Yes, it's in
great,
Connecticut in the
amazing
fall. It's
place.
stunning.
Gorgeous. Photography
Um,
worthy for sure as well. And I am wearing my year participant shirt.
that's right.
I went.
And that was your participant year was my first year on staff, and
Yes,
I have one of those
absolutely.
shirts too.
And keep in mind, one of the favorite things I love to tell people is you can only do it once in your life as a
It's true.
participant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about us bugging you to go again because you only get
because
to
you
go
can't.
once.
Absolutely. Anyway, thank you all for listening to that. It's something we love and hold dear to us. We wanted to just give them a shout out today. So today's episode is going to be on why clarity beats hustle in business growth. And I'll kick it off with a great question. I'll throw this question to you, Scott. Is why do you think so many business owners equate hustle with progress?
I mean, hustle is this word that gets thrown around all if you've ever thought about starting your own anything, people are going to tell you like, well, you're going to have to hustle, like, and I think it has different connotations for different people. I don't have a ton of value judgment about it, but I think it's kind of a bullshit word. Like it's not clearly enough to find. Like there's been times when I have hustled and felt incredibly productive about it, and there's been loads of times, many more times, where I have hustled and when I look back at what I have to show for that hustle, it's basically nothing. I think especially in the early days, anytime somebody has made that transition to being like, okay, I'm no longer working a 9 to 5 corporate job. It's up to me to make this thing go. The the panic that sets in sometimes when they have big open swaths of time on their calendar and they don't know what to do, it makes them, I got to fill it with something,
Mhm.
you know. So I think that's what drives a lot of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like I can definitely relate to this in my own practice as well. And so a couple quotes that come to mind about this, or just a couple sayings that they say, is I know when I first started my practice, I was still at corporate, but I started to feel the pressure. And then when I made the leap and left corporate, I'm like, oh my God, it's here all the time.
Yeah.
And this idea of it's meant to be, it's up to me kind of
Yeah.
concept. And there's truth to that kind of thing. And also, I think that, well, actually, one of my friends gave me this expression a lot, and like time enjoyed is not time wasted.
Uh, Absolutely.
And I think like learning to, I don't like the word balance, but I like the word harmony in that in a lot of ways. And I'll say one other one, which I heard recently from another mentor of mine that just really blew my mind. And I don't know if I shared this with you yet, Scott, is she said to me, as an entrepreneur, stop treating yourself like you are an employee
Oh yeah.
and start treating yourself like the boss. And I love the example she gave, like when her partner was just like, oh, let's go to the beach for a week. And she'd be like, oh, I hope I can ask the boss for that time off. And she's the boss, and it's the
Yeah.
joke. And like, I really identified with that because it's like that feeling of like, I gotta be moving. And I don't know if I could take all that time off. That's not productive, if you will.
I think, I mean, first of all, there's an aspect of this that is down to like how serious are you taking yourself? And like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, it's important to like treat your business with some seriousness, at
Mhm.
least at times. But like, I've been a big fan of saying things like, at my company, we have mandatory no pants Friday. Or, we have mandatory happy hour at, 4 p.m. on Thursday or whatever. Like, am I being serious about that? No. Am I encouraging everybody to do heavy drinking on a Friday or Thursday afternoon? No. I'm just like, sometimes we just are real uptight about this stuff. But the reason we get that way, well, sometimes there are people who are just a lot more serious than I am, and that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
don't necessarily have. I'm not trying to be the benchmark of how serious anybody ought to be in their business or about their business. But if you let the gravitas of your business, the seriousness of it,
Hmm.
drive all the joy out of it,
Oh, yeah.
or force you, like, I have to always be grind is my other. I don't love the word hustle, but I kind of actively hate the word grind,
Uh,
because it's like literally connotes doing something joylessly so that you get a result.
it's a wearing away. You were
Yeah.
grinding, sharpening a blade, if you will,
Yeah.
grinding it. And that, I like your analogy where like chipping away your joy.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel
um
good.
I look, I'm not sitting here telling anybody like every minute of your building your business is going to be joyful. Like, of course it isn't.
Mhm.
Um but I'm really, really big on gradually cutting away the least joyful pieces of it.
Mhm.
It's like you're sculpting this thing,
Mhm.
and nobody can do that for you.
Mhm.
Like, this is, everybody get ready to be bored of Scott saying this, but like, the number one problem of being a business owner is that you don't have a boss. There's nobody to tell you what it should look like. You have to come up with what it should look like. And you have to come up with what are the activities going to be that
Mhm.
allow me to make it look like that. And like, I think a lot of hustle is just people going, I mean, on a good day, they're doing things wrong so they can learn from it and do something else the next time they want to hustle. But on a bad day, they just keep hustling the same ways for minimal returns
Yeah.
because they don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Um, and it makes me sad when I come across somebody who is deriving no joy from their business.
Yes.
And I think part of it is just like empathy for when I started my first business. At first I thought this is great, and then
Mhm.
real fast it became not very joyful. But I didn't know how to like get out of it because I thought, well, I started it, I have to finish it.
Mm. Did
So,
you, in your first business, feel like you were grinding too much or hustling too much, if you will, with the lack of clarity?
well, first of all, uh, like, I didn't know jack about running a business when I started my first business.
Hmm.
And so I was doing almost everything wrong. And the problem is I wasn't really applying those lessons at the time.
Mhm.
Um, I I was very much stuck in this like I need to fill my time mentality.
Mhm.
Like the business will be successful when I'm doing the thing I'm doing. If anybody doesn't know, I used to have a videography business where I would videotape civil court depositions.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was behind a camera, pointing the camera at someone being deposed by attorneys.
Mhm.
And I was just like, how do I get to where, this was pretty lucrative for the hours I was spending doing it. And so I was
Mhm.
like, how do I fill as much of my time with that as possible?
Mhm.
Instead of like growing it to where like I have other people who are operating the camera, I'm out there generating the business. If I had done that, I might have been more successful at it, but I didn't. It got so joyless for me that I made up the story of like, why would I want to make somebody else do this? Because it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's making it not suck is the fact that I'm getting paid pretty well for it. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I mean, I learned a lot of lessons in the course of that business, but for God's sake, don't do it like that.
Yes.
But yeah, like if you make a list of all the things you're doing
Mhm.
and you stop doing the ones, usually the way I do this in the 3 column exercises, first of all, stop doing the ones that you're not great at
Mhm.
and you don't love. And then if you ever are mostly successful at doing that, now start getting rid of the ones that you are great at, but you don't love.
I love this. I know you've said this before. Can you set it up again? So like, what was the
Sure.
first column?
The way the 3 column exercise works is column one is just a list of every single thing you do
Mhm.
for your business to function.
Mhm.
And if you want to know where maybe you're like hustling is like when you fill out that list and it is like you're scrolling down on the spreadsheet to get to the bottom of it, you're
Mhm.
doing a whole lot of things, right? That's a
Mhm.
lot to keep track of. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's useful just to go, this is what I'm doing,
Mhm.
and holy cow, that's a lot. But it's all necessary.
Mhm.
Column two is called great at it, and uh it gets a check mark for anything that you're like, I know I'm really great at this part.
Mhm.
And then column three is called love it. And so you put a check mark for all the parts of your business that you absolutely love doing.
Even if you're
Some
not
people,
great at it, though, right?
yeah,
But you love
whether
it,
you're great at it or not.
right?
My theory about that is you become great at things you love because you spend a lot of time doing them.
I agree. Absolutely, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But when I was introduced to this exercise, it was still running my first business and it was ugly and I basically just rejected it and put it aside and didn't want to think about it.
Mm.
Because like almost nothing got a love it check mark. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm like literally zero got a love it check mark. And
Mhm.
I also had this real complex about like what I do is so basic that a monkey could do it.
Yes.
That might be kind of insulting to monkeys too, but like when people said, "What do you do?" Like, tell me about your business. I'm like, all I do is press a button. I set up the camera, I aim it at an empty chair. Somebody sits in the chair, I press a button.
Mhm.
They're done talking, I press the button. I go back to my office. I'm pressing some buttons to burn off copies of it. It goes out in the mail. I press buttons. And I didn't feel like a lot of skill was involved in anything.
Yeah.
I've come a long way. Like, doing things dumb for several years will shine a lot of light on um, how to be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the exercise. And sometimes people get weird about love, like the word love, like, well, I mean, I love my family and I love my dog, but I don't love my business. I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
that's fine. Like if it helps you to use the word enjoy or take joy in,
Would you say
um,
fulfillment would be a good word
yeah,
too?
sure,
Okay,
sure.
cool. Yeah.
But if nothing gets a check mark, I'm gonna just cut to the chase real fast. Like you're in the wrong business.
In the third column, to be
Yeah,
precise. Great. Okay.
right,
Yeah.
right. Like find parts that you do enjoy.
Hmm.
Or start like figure out a way for it to automate so much that you don't have to do anything.
Yep.
You become kind of an absentee owner, or
I
get the
love
hell out and do something. that
I
you
love this exercise you give me, and it's good for our listeners to hear as well. So that's how to find more clarity in the business. I want to kind of take it back to, I guess, identifying when do they not have clarity, which there's a lot of things we could say. So I'll just throw a simple question out just for the sake of it. What does clarity actually mean in a business context?
um so I'm just real quick book recommendation,
Yeah.
because I drew this piece of wisdom out of it. But if you've never read the Firestarter Sessions by Danielle Laporte,
Okay.
LA capital Porte,
I'll
it's
put that in the show
awesome.
notes as
Um,
well.
um, she has a question in there. It says, "What business are you really in?"
Mm,
And I think until you answer that until you answer that question, it's kind of hard to have clarity about what
mm,
you're doing. I mean, I tell people, I've said this for years, I'm in the wisdom transportation business.
mhm,
I'm not in the wisdom generation business.
mhm,
Um, but I listen to smart people, to wise people, and I listen for who does that, who do I meet that might derive value from that? And so I'm just spreading it around. And accidentally, a lot of wisdom gets all over you while you're doing that particular business. Um, and it creates clarity for me. Like,
mm,
one of the reasons I don't think of myself as hustling is because I'm approaching every conversation I have with what can I learn from this person? And also, how can I help this person?
mhm,
And that give and take is, it's like, I don't know how to make it more clear for me than
mhm.
that. Um, so it results in me having like a lot of really high value conversations because
Yeah.
I either, I almost always either learn something or help them in some way or both.
Yeah. I think I love what you said there because it makes me think of a presence is what comes to mind. And I think on this topic of clarity, too often we are I came up with the question here is like why do you think hustle culture has become so popular in a lot of way? And I'll kind of answer it and then riff off what you kind of said here. What I thought of is like I feel like in a lot of ways, and in my experience, that hustle culture is so popular because I think we live in a society and culture. Not all cultures and societies like this, to be clear, but we happen to reside in America, and there's always like, if you're not doing something, you're wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing something productive, you're also a waste of time, kind of thing. I know very high achieving people, all identifications, whatever they identify as, relate to this in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, we definitely see it. I think it's exploded more with social media in a lot of ways because there's just like you get to see successful people out there, with fake or not. And now we have AI, which is a whole nother conversation, Tyler, we're not going to have today. But I think that's a lot of ways it's gotten popularized. And on my journey, we celebrate those, how do you phrase it? We celebrate people in public for what they practice in private. And it is never really celebrated about the messy middle in a lot of ways, which is
Yeah.
a discussion in itself we could have because it's messy. It's ugly. It's not always fun. And I think those are the points where clarity is most needed because you're like the starting, the middle, and then the end, if you will. Starting's kind of exciting and it's new, but then you know enough in the middle of like, I don't know, Jack, and I don't know what to do. And you question what you're doing and all these kind of things. And I think that's where like the word presence and clarity comes in here. Because one of my previous mentors once said to me is like, I don't know where they got this from, but like there's a triangle, three C's: clarity, confidence, consistency, also action. And it doesn't matter which one you start with, they're all going to grow naturally. And some people say like, well, how do you get more confidence? I say being inspired can create action. Action's probably the one that's going to give you the most clarity because you're going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the sake of this conversation, getting more clarity is like maybe taking some time to think about it. What do you want? What do you not want? Kind of thing. I think what comes to mind to me about this is when, how do you know when someone doesn't have clarity? And my thoughts on this, and I'll throw it to you here in a second. And you may have already answered it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts again on it. Is you don't know why you're doing it,
Yeah.
or like someone told you to do it. And that may be true for like a coach or a mentor or things like that, but you don't ever kind of question and really want to know the deeper meaning of it, where it makes sense to you. And I think about not always business, but certain other contexts of like, well, why are you doing this? Well, I don't know. This is always the way we've done it,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that doesn't always work in entrepreneurship, not so much. But
The
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead. Never done.
What keeps coming up for me is um this scarcity environment. And like there's a lot of reasons right now where that might feel a little bit more present than it has at other times, but I just think that like it's hard for me to remember a time when American culture wasn't rooted in scarcity somehow. Um, One of the ways that really landed this for me was like listening to uh, Brene Brown's the Power of Vulnerability, and she talks about I think she was quoting somebody else, but she talks about how like we wake up in the morning thinking I didn't get enough sleep,
Mm,
and we go to bed at night thinking I didn't get enough done. And everything in between is just this litany of scarcity.
mm,
I don't have, I'm not enough. And that's a hard way to live.
yes.
And we fill that not enoughness by with activity sometimes that that constitutes that hustle that we talked about.
Hmm.
And like if you're gonna do it wrong and learn from it, I always say that the hard way is the second best way to learn anything.
Yes.
So fail, but at least get the lesson and then do it differently. But my experience of this is over time of doing it wrong and course correcting and doing it wrong some more and course correcting. Excuse me, is like I feel like I'm doing it righter than I ever have before.
Hmm.
And I actually have quite a bit of discretionary time. I don't call it free time because it's time I get to choose how to spend it.
Hmm.
And I often spend it doing things that have an inadvertently positive effect on my business. Like, again, I'll circle back. Hanging out at Otherworld has had profoundly positive impacts on my business.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Some of those people have built enough confidence and relationship with me that they've referred me to people. A few
Hmm.
of them have worked with me directly, but also watching how amazing motivated leaders work and how they move with a certain grace and efficiency,
Hmm.
and also how much we build each other up, how the act of giving somebody hearable praise and telling them how much they mean to you, or ways that they're showing up in your life that is making your life or the world a better place,
Hmm.
that I'm a much better coach and I'm a much better human for
Hmm.
having done that. And so that discretionary time spent that way feels um it feels joyful and it feels productive, and it doesn't ever feel like I'm filling time for the sake of filling time, or like I hope this works.
Hmm. Yes, I agree. And what also comes to mind about that is something I've wrestled with and something I'm putting into practice as now in my own life is like this idea of like, as I've said before, time enjoyed is not time wasted. I apply that to kind of like things that are just fun, like video games or like maybe a solo hobby that it just may not progress, at least the games I play, may not progress outside virtual reality goals. And so, but what you also say there, which I love, is like oh, well, I need to put all my time into this business and making it forward to achieve milestones and get out of maybe some people it's scarcity mindset, some people it's level of prestige. It doesn't matter the motivator. But, I love what you say you're in the wisdom transportation business. And what I like to say, I'm in the business of relationships.
Wait,
So
say it one more time.
I'm in the business of relationships.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I
And so
experience.
I like to focus more on communication because that is the popular vehicle people use to connect with others. It's actually
Mhm.
the only one, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. And with deeper relationships will come more love, friendship, connections, business, and experiences in a lot of ways. And so I love that example you give, and I'm gonna just double down on it here of just like you going down the world and finding a community. Um, it's, I guess planting a tree and birth a lot of fruit in a lot of areas of life. And I think that's what a lot of people in entrepreneurship struggle with of just like I see this more so in employees, but definitely true in entrepreneurship. Like there's work and then personal life. And like realizing like my experience is it's more so it needs to be more collaborative in entrepreneurship because like it's much harder to like you don't just clock out at 5. You go, at least maybe not in the beginning to a certain degree. And how having those fruitful relationships, at least the business that we're in, matters. It's our brand, it's our reputation, it's who we are, what we stand for, our values. And it's going to show up in the world. People are going to remember that. And they're going to want to just hang out with us as friends. Or maybe they approach us for business, which has happened to me. I know it's happened to you. And so, this idea that, like, I guess being intentional with your time, a therapist once told me. And I
Yeah.
really like that, kind of coupling what you said is when you're intentional with your time, or one of my other buddies, like, party with a purpose, which says, and I love that versus just like, you always have to have a reason because all who wander are not lost concept. But at the same time, like doing it because you're seeking connection. Like, what is the deeper? Again, why? It all goes back to clarity. No matter if it's the activities you do in business or not, because it all matters and meshes together. That's my summarized version. That's that.
I want to interject something. I don't remember. My math is going to be close, but probably not bang on. Um, but I did the math a while back about what is the average American lifespan,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about 4,070 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And um, if you're my age, I've probably run through well over half of those 4,070 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I ain't real into wasting any of that time.
Yeah.
That is not a go, go, go all the time with no regards to my energy level or my feelings or the relationships I'm trying to manage. Like I am the furthest thing from hustle because I think if I'm a lucky guy, I might have about 1,600 of those weeks left.
Mm-hmm.
So sitting through unproductive meetings or sitting through one-to-ones that I feel like this is not the person I should be connecting with right now.
Mm-hmm.
I, I'm not going to waste this one precious life I have on busy work.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and again, neither should anybody, but those of us in the entrepreneurial realm who have a lot of discretion over how we spend our time, like get real clear
Mm-hmm.
about it, what wonderfully spent time looks like
Mm-hmm.
and spend most of it like that
Yeah.
because you ain't getting a second of it back.
True.
Uh, we're all time travelers. but we're going at a constant rate in one direction.
Yes, very true. I love that.
Um,
Love that.
so yeah, I mean, I know we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about like bad networking.
Yeah.
Here's like it comes all down to this for me. Like when you go meet a big group of people, to me, there's only one reason to go meet a big group of people, and that's to discover who in that group do you really click with,
Yeah.
and then figure out a way to spend time with them individually or in smaller groups.
Hmm.
And then while you're doing that, have it joyful and fulfilling in some way.
Hmm.
And it could be that they're not really the person that you operate with on such a level that that's going to be your person. But
Hmm.
networking is about who do you know that I would love to meet?
Hmm.
And finding your tribe and refining that. And like this is real easy for me to say as an extrovert.
Hmm.
But like as
Yeah.
an introvert, it's even more important that you
Yes.
spend that time joyfully because you only have a limited battery for dealing with it. So having low value, no value networking or contacts, you want to talk about a way to suck the joy out of it. If you're an introvert, that is the shortcut for it to suck.
Absolutely. How to drain your battery quicker. Hang around people you don't like.
Yeah.
Or mostly focus on activities you hate.
Yeah.
Typically. Well
Yeah.
said.
So, I mean, I just be real careful anytime you find yourself using the word hustle on
Hmm.
yourself. I mean, do you find yourself hustling these days in ways that are feeling unproductive, or are you at least happily in the messy middle where you recognize it when you're screwing it up?
I think it's a battle, honestly, every day. I find myself, am I happy in the messy middle? I'm grateful where I am.
Mhm.
And I remind myself that every morning. And I like, I'm grateful where I am, grateful where I'm going. I'm more grateful where I'm going sometimes than where I currently am. And that's what kind of gets me through. I mean, there are days that are hard for sure. So my hustling, I think my own experience is that one thing that I fell into a trap of doing is that this is more a couple years ago, and I'm thankful I learned it now versus later, is that like I would try elevator pitch or try a title of a coach I am or something like that. And I would get some negative feedback. Now we know we as humans don't like negative feedback, and it takes a couple more positive feedbacks to kind of negate that. So there's that piece. But one thing I kind of fell into a trap of is just like, oh, there's an example. I used to call myself a confidence coach, and that's a piece of what I do, but it's not the main focus. It's a result you get versus that, and it is kind of ambiguous. But a colleague of mine said to me, like, nobody wants confidence, Joey. What? Why are you doing that? And I don't believe that now, but at the time, I'm like, this person has 10 years to 15 more years of experience than me, is far more successful either money wise and or with clients and reviews and all those things, all the markers, if you will. And they're older and wiser than me. So I need to put on my beginner hat and be like, I will listen to them. And I did, and it was a mistake.
Hmm.
And I realize now that the hard way is that every feedback you get isn't, you shouldn't always take it.
Right.
And like, well, first of all, this
Try it on
individual, yeah. And I see
and then
that now and I
decide, does
just
this apply to
accept
me?
it.
Does this not apply to me? Yeah.
Right. And so I have much more discernment with that. And so how that relates to your question is kind of tapping into my own gut and intuition with clarity with of like, does this bring me joy? Do I really want to do this? Do I want to spend my energy doing this? Like, I mean, one personal thing that I detest and not against others doing is like cold damning people. And I just don't find joy in that. I'd rather go talk to 100 strangers in person than message 100 people online, even if I'm friends with them.
Yeah. Well,
Something
that could be number one, that can be an introvert versus extrovert kind of thing. Like,
probably
the idea of talking to 100 strangers is, destroys their soul. And the idea of just blasting out a thing, maybe feels less personal or like less
does.
energetically demanding of them. Um, but I think a lot of it is also like, well, what if I get rejected?
There's that too.
I mean, it's easier to be rejected over an impersonal text than it is face to face. Uh, you know,
Yeah. And so like, will I eventually never, will I always never message people online and directly message or cold DM them? I don't know. Right now in this season, no, but I am focusing on like what brings me joy versus I'm not turning away from hard things, but yeah, having more discernment of a like this collaboration feels good. Talking to this person, like they actually don't really want to know what I do and they don't care. And they're actually just judging me the whole time we're talking. Let's end this one on one. Thanks for your time
yeah.
and move on.
I do think that this may be a topic for a whole other podcast,
Sure.
but we have such a this weird like Protestant work ethic kind of thing about like
Mhm.
fun is fun and work is work and
Yes.
never the twain shall meet, right? Like the
Yes.
the the that there's a reason it's called work,
Mhm.
and that if you're having too much fun, it means you're probably not working very hard. And I'm like, I mean, if that works for you, cool. But like I said, the clock is ticking down. I don't know how
Yes.
many of those weeks I have left.
Hmm.
I'm going to enjoy as much of them as possible. And turns out, based on my own experience and results, I can have lots of fun and lots of deep personal connection and still make a good living
I think this
doing it.
podcast is a great example.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
fun, but it's also in our work category.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Only always.
closing question for the
Okay.
audience today here. I'll ask you, throw this one to you, Scott. And you may have already answered it with your matrix, but I'm curious if something else pops up. If someone's listening right now feeling stuck in the grind or constant hustle, what's one simple action they could take to gain clarity today?
Well, I mean, again, we already kind of talked about it. Like do the 3 column exercise.
Yes.
If you're not getting any ticks in column 3, time to reevaluate.
Yes.
but
Yes.
but but also like hopefully you do get some.
Mhm.
And then like do an assessment. Like great, some of my stuff is enjoyable. How much of my time do I spend doing that?
Mhm.
And then these things that aren't getting any tick marks, either I don't feel like I'm great at them, I don't feel like I'm enjoy them. Like I have no business doing those things because they're sucking up time that could be spent in my greatness, in my joy. So how can I get them off my list? Like one of the things that people sometimes get cranky about is they're like, I don't want to dump that on somebody else because it sucks. I'm like,
Yeah.
not everybody thinks it sucks.
Yes.
Somebody enjoys it.
Yes.
If you find them, you're doing them a favor by giving it to them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Like,
like to me, I do that exercise at least once a year,
mhm.
and I have a document on my computer where I just go through. I'm like, is it the same? And like, the curve of change has kind of like been like this, right? Like
Mhm.
I haven't changed that much in the last 4 or 5 years, but that's because I've really kind of dialed it in.
Mhm.
And I'm open to the possibility it might look different a year from now or tomorrow. But um, if you keep checking in with yourself about that, I have yet to see a situation where somebody's business does not improve and their
Well said.
relationship to it doesn't improve.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you.
I think if I were to give
Yeah. What about you?
one simple action, well, I've mentioned it before, but like the umbrella term would be presence. And I think what that really kind of a more tangible way to say that is like when I first started my coaching practice, one of my first coaches, when I was going for my first program, they said, slow down to speed up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go far, slow down. If you want to go fast, what do they say? Go fast if you want to go alone. No, I'm mixing up two phrasing here, but essentially,
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think
right. And so, but in this context, there was that coupled with what they were saying, which was if you build it fast, when you're ready to let off the gas, can you?
yeah,
And usually not, because that momentum is carrying it. And then you have to constantly, and then you've built a practice that's so fast that you hate in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. And that really stuck with me. And it's something I wrestle with because I'm excited to get to the next thing in a lot of ways. So slowing down and checking in with yourself and like think of like the percentage, which is essentially piggybacking what you said of like on a scale of 1 to 100% being like, I love every second of this, to one being like, I want to burn this to the ground. Like, what's the percentage of the activities or people you're with, communities you're in, groups you're doing, projects you're doing? And like, it makes me think of the 80/20 principle. If you're about 80%, you're doing pretty good. Anything above that, wow, you're awesome. And if it gets down lower than that to like 70, okay, 60, ooh, 50, what are you doing? You're doing a coin flip of this kind of thing. I think that's a quick one, is just like a checking with yourself percentage wise of the activity. And then a second question, like, is this as you always say, Scott, rather than grind, sprint, and rest, is this a temporary thing? Is this a
Sure.
uncomfortable period of time where like it's kind of you got to do it and you hate it versus like, no, this is the next 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation. So that would be the quick tip. Anywho, to conclude, thank you all for listening with this episode. If
Been a
you
fun one.
enjoyed it, give us a follow and then we'll tune in next time. See y'all next time, friends.
Yeah. See you soon.
Bye
Bye.
bye.